Let's talk about the warship. How does that happen? Is it possible they sank their own battleship? And how important is it in the grand scheme of the battle, from morale to symbolism to actual tactics?
Very important, and there are just layers of complexity here that suggest that this is a great turn for the Ukrainians. Number one, if these are coastal missiles that were used, the Neptune missiles, to strike the Moskva ship, that implies electronic warfare capability either viable by drone or potentially other assets that may even be shared assets with Western NATO alliance, because striking at that range requires, one, identifying the ship, but also targeting it and suppressing some of the ship's capabilities to intercept. So if that was done, then it's well done and well placed. More importantly, it'll put the Russians back on their heels in that their Black Sea fleet, because this is about area access denial. How do you deny Russians maneuverability around the coastal lines for their amphibious assaults if they want to go to Odessa in the west, or for other sort of interdiction campaigns by launch of cruise missiles and so on and so forth? Now, the Ukrainians are pretty good at developing weapons. They're a jewel in the eye, or the gleaming eye, if you will, of Putin and even China, who want to take over those factories. Zaporizhzhia, you just talked about the one in Mariupol. So they've been in a pretty aggressive design phase and just launched these. It's a great success, but again, it implies a lot more going on, and I think there's a lot of shared intelligence in the background. And as David Ignatius says, credit to the Biden administration for really dancing on a fine line here between supplying the right type of weapons to Ukrainians while also keeping the forces out, which is a very difficult threshold to cross. So a lot of credit due there.
So the Western Alliance and the White House certainly cheering the sinking of that battleship. We heard from National Security Advisor Jake Sullivan yesterday saying that it didn't really matter why it went down. It's a bad outcome either way for Russia. But there is a growing concern, at least, as to what this disaster, and there's no other way to put it as a disaster, may prompt Putin to do next. That this is a humiliation. He may now take this as an excuse to escalate the violence. We heard some rockets landing in Kyiv last night, first time in several days that's happened. But in particular, zeroing in on the idea of potential chemical weapons use. And we should be clear, the report from a few days ago that has not been confirmed that they were used, that the Azov regiment suggested they were. U.S. and Western officials still not clear about that. But we also heard from William Burns, CIA director, who says that he believes that Putin might be willing to use a tactical nuclear weapon in this combat, in this conflict. And he knows, as he's ambassador to Russia, Putin as well as anybody.
Well, that's the real game changer, right? The world has just been waiting, and the billion-dollar question is, will Putin go there? Is he going to, the nuclear blackmail that he has been threatening, is he going to actually act on it? And if Putin chooses to do so, then the war has really entered a new phase, and the West is going to also enter a new phase with the support for the Ukrainians. So I think that it's just as much of a slippery slope for Putin to actually use those weapons as it is for the West to increase our support at this point for the Ukrainians, because really it's getting to this war can go on for years if we continue the level of support now, or potentially we up it. This could be, reach some kind of turning point. That actually was a really big deal, and that's what I want to go back to the Master Sergeant on. The blowing up of that flagship vessel, it's a pretty big symbolic moment. And just a week ago, I was talking to a retired military official who said, we need more anti-ship weapons to be going to the Ukrainians. So what does it tell you about their capacity that they were able to blow up such an important vessel?
Again, very impressive, because it takes radar acquisition, it takes electronic warfare capability to identify the signals, to make sure that the target is positively identified, and then it takes continued electronic capability to suppress the ship's anti-missile system, the intercept. So they're having to do this because, remember, in 2014, the Russians took the Crimean Peninsula, which was where the Ukrainian Navy was stationed, and flipped all those Ukrainian Navy ships into Russian vessels. vessels. They're largely manned by Ukrainians still. So the Russian naval fleet and the capacity to dominate the Azov Sea and the Black Sea are now hampered, and it's an economic disaster for Putin. These are expensive ships. Russia is a land expansionist power, so trying to balance and maintain a naval fleet with warm water port access is very difficult for them. And now that they've lost a prize asset for their fleet, it hurts very much for them. So again, kudos to Ukraine for the development of these weapons. Again, I would suggest that they've been selling that weapons technology both to Russia and to China. They own factories that man the fleets of the Antonovs and the aircrafts, like the helicopter attack gunships. So this is part of what's happening underneath this war. Is the industrial capacity to build these sophisticated weapon systems is on the ground right there in communities like Zaporizhzhia and Mariupol and Melitopol. So that's what everybody's eyeballing from the outside. Again, big marks for the Ukrainians doing this.
Sergeant Beardsley, I'm curious what you made of Vladimir Putin earlier this week, not saying in so many words, but effectively conceding the big goal of a couple of months ago is lost. We didn't roll into Ukraine, subdue the Ukrainian people, take Kyiv easily, have a victory parade, install our government, and now control that entire country. He basically moved the goalposts and said, what we really want is the East. What we really want is the Donbass. What we really want is to take Mariupol and make the land bridge. He changed his strategic goals without conceding any kind of defeat. So what is that, just as a military strategist, what does that say to you about what he may do next and about what he's capable of, given all the military losses he's suffered in just the last 6 weeks?
I think it's actually, even though we can't take a lot out of it, but it is a positive mark that he's got rational sort of considerations here and a lot of pressure on him from those who are surrounding him. This is an embarrassment. The humiliation of an empire is happening in the muddy fields of Ukraine right now. So this shows us that he's actually reacting to the real world, which is a great suggestion that he's still got some constraints left on him. We don't know where he's going to go with this, but focusing on the East and the Donbass, where they've been at war for the last 8 years, the Ukrainians have experience there. They've done marvelous at, guerrilla warfare tactics. Our Green Berets have been in there for 8 years, reshaping how they think of the battlefield. So even though they may try to reset this, it is not easy. General Dvornikov, who was appointed to do this, has to now consolidate multiple different commands that have lost their senior officials. And again, that points to Western intelligence helping to predict and precisely identify these guys and let the Ukrainians do the targeting. All signs point to the humiliation, putting Putin in a rational place where he has to back off and focus his forces in the East. That's about the best we can take out of it. But I think, to Elise's point, there is a slippery slope here for both he and the West as we watch what the blowback may be.